Hey guys, this is Super Tycon, and this is part 3 of my series on how to defeat longswords. A series to give players who are struggling with longswords some tips on how to defeat them, and to prove that longswords are not overpowered, as there is a bit of a myth in this community that I think has been well and truly debunked, but still exists, that longswords are somehow overpowered, or at least playing the game on easy mode. And I'm here to tell you that's really not quite the case at all. They are definitely powerful, they have their advantages, but they also have some disadvantages. So here we're going to be focusing on defeating the high guard cut, that is Isabella's cut, where she comes straight down from high guard and hits with a ton of force, like so. Some people find this cut really difficult to deal with, or at the very least very intimidating, and this footage here, I think, shows a really cool way to defeat it semi-reliably, if not very reliably, if you're really good at it. So this will take some practice, but I managed to replicate it very consistently. So this should be something that most Saber characters with hand protection should be capable of. So Yazik, Alexander, etc. That's hand protection that encloses the hand, like so. Like the D guard and Alexander Saber. So I got it in slower motion here. And here I'm just being fancy with this head bob against this opponent. Really, that was a terrible idea, but I managed to get just to the side, and you'll see there. What happened was the blade actually hits my guard and a bit of the pommel, and then it sort of skids off as I move to the side, and then the blade completely misses. And this gives me an opportunity to, in theory, counterattack. I was close this time to do that cut, though unfortunately, so not much happens here. But if I perhaps did a different cut or timed it better, etc., maybe I would have gotten the kill right then and there. And I've certainly done it before, so especially against Zera, you can sort of get away with this more. There's more of him to hit and whatnot. But the weakness of the high guard cut is that Isabella needs time to recover. She just committed all of her energy to this cut now, and she has no response to this really. No initial response. In theory, I can just hit her, and then she's dead. So he's able to back away here because of that whiff, but, he was dead, most likely, if that landed. So he goes for another one, and again the same thing. The D guard and the pommel block the swing, and then it skids right off. The longsword has leverage and weight over my saber, so that's why it can potentially simply just smash through. But when the weapon hits the guard, that's where actually a lot of the mass of the sword is located. And so that leverage advantage sort of disappears once you hit that guard. So you can use this tactic with Kalkstein as well, actually, because he's got the basket hilt, right? He's got a pretty good guard to begin with, but that would help him out even further, even more in Fury. So I managed to replicate it again. Unfortunately, no kill this time. Again, I think I should have done the sidestep X to the right, but that's okay. Then he does an upward slash and manages to get a little bit of a hit there. So I'm definitely not playing this perfectly by any means, but I replicated that pretty consistently. And here, I don't actually block with the guard this time, but what I do is I block with the strong of my blade. You can see here, he's not hitting me towards the tip here. If that happened, it would have just blasted through. A concept in sword fighting is strong versus the weak. The weak is closer to the tip, where you have less leverage. The strong is like the upper third up here, where the meat of the blade, so to speak, is. This is true for longswords too, actually. So if you pay attention to longsword fights, you might notice sometimes a longsword can break through another longsword too. It's not just sabers that suffer from this problem. It's just much more pronounced with one-handed swords compared to two-handed swords, if you see them clashing. So again, I catch it with the strong of my blade. So it's all to do with positioning if you want to block these incoming swings, right? And you can see here, because it hit the strong of my blade, I block it pretty effortlessly. And I'm able to shoot in here and get a stab. It's more of a push cut, actually, and then a cut to the head. So it was perfectly executed there. Of course, I did take some hits. Some of my counterattacks were not the best executed, but the point was I was able to consistently block the swing, and that's the main point of this video here. And another thing you can do as well is you can do a sort of deflectional parry. So you don't always have to block with the meat of the blade or the strong of the blade to get a hit. You can also use the power of that longsword swing to power a swing of your own. This game is physics based, and so sometimes you can pull that off as well. Think about when the sword starts hitting your weapon, you immediately throw a swing of your own, and ideally sidestep. You want to again get out of the way of that swing if you can. Being out of the way of the swing is even better than simply standing and trying to take it. So there's definitely multiple ways to deal with it, and again, it's really hard to recover from that high guard swing. So it's very much a gamble on the part of an Isabella player who tries to use it against you. And that's why I think it's often actually better used as a punishing attack and not a sort of initiation. But it can be used that way as well for sure. Anyway, I hope this helped. As you can see, there are some pretty consistent ways I would say to deal with it. And I'll see you next time.